All right, let's jump right in. We all deal with conflict, right? But what if I told you that just changing how you look at it could completely flip the script on the outcome? I mean, what if the real goal isn't just to win the fight, but to become, well, unbeatable? And that really is the big question we're diving into. Do you see conflict as a war to be won? A battlefield where there's a clear winner and a loser? Or is it something totally different? Maybe it's more like a training ground, a place where we can actually get stronger together. So you've got these two totally opposite views, right? On one hand, there's the old school winner-take-all mindset. You know the one, for me to win, you've got to lose. Simple as that. But then there's this other way of looking at it, a path where we find a solution together, and everyone comes out of it better off. And believe me, this isn't just some abstract idea. It changes everything about how you handle the situation. Okay, so let's dig into that first mindset, the one most of us probably grew up with. It's called the fixed pie mentality. Basically, you view any conflict or negotiation like there's a pizza on the table. There are only so many slices, and your one and only job is to fight for the biggest piece you can get. And this way of thinking is, well, it's ancient. We're talking Sun Tzu, The Art of War ancient. He literally wrote the book on framing conflict as a strategic war. It's all about probing for your enemy's weak spots and then hitting them hard. It's a really powerful way to think, and for centuries, it's been the dominant approach. So, following that logic leads you straight into something we can call the adversarial trap. It's this core belief deep down that every single disagreement is a competition that has to be won. And when you're caught in that trap, you're aggressive, you're not cooperating, and you're laser focused on what you want no matter what it costs the other person. This whole mindset really boils down to a few key assumptions. For starters, you're always bargaining from these rigid opposing positions. I want this, you want that. Then there's the belief that resources are limited, that fixed pie we talked about. And when you believe that, it automatically leads to the conclusion that for you to get a win, the other person has to take a loss. It's a worldview that basically turns every single disagreement into a potential fight. But what if that core assumption is just plain wrong? What if the pie isn't fixed at all? See, in the 20th century, a really huge shift started to happen. People began to seriously challenge that old idea and started thinking more about mutual gain. And you can actually trace this evolution. It started with thinkers like Morton Deutsch, who began questioning the whole competitive model in academic circles. But then, these ideas started to catch on in the real world. In 1981, this book, Getting to Yes, came out and made win-win negotiation a household term. And just a decade after that, the idea was so mainstream that the UN formalized the concept of peace building. Think about that. It's not just about stopping a fight anymore. It's about building something better and more collaborative in its place. And this is where we get to that amazing concept of expanding the pie. So instead of fighting over the 8 slices of pizza you started with, what if you could work together to order another one? You're creating new value before you even start dividing things up. The whole point is that most conflicts aren't zero-sum. There's almost always a hidden way for everybody to win. Okay, now this is a really crucial point. We tend to think compromise is the goal, right? But compromise is actually kind of meh. It's a no-win, no-lose deal. Everybody walks away a little unhappy because they had to give something up. Collaboration, on the other hand, that's the real prize. That's a pure win-win. It's where you both figure out a way to get what you really want. It's a much higher bar to aim for, but so worth it. It really reminds me of what the leadership expert John C. Maxwell says: 1 is too small a number to achieve greatness. And that's so true for conflict, too. If you try to go it alone and just dominate the other person, you're actually limiting what you can achieve. You're thinking too small. So, the big question is, how do we actually do this? How do we get to that collaborative win-win state? Well, the modern approach is pretty cool. It's like combining the sharp, strategic mind of a warrior with the cooperative spirit of a teammate. And the key that unlocks it all is a tool that's super powerful, but also really misunderstood. That tool is empathy. Yeah, I'm talking about what former FBI hostage negotiator Chris Voss calls tactical empathy. Now, hold on, this isn't about being fluffy or nice or just agreeing with whatever the other person says. Not at all. Voss literally describes it as listening as a martial art. It's a strategic skill you use to get inside the other person's head and figure out what's really going on with them. And that's the absolute key. According to Voss, listening isn't a passive thing you do while you're waiting for your turn to talk. No way. He says it's the most active thing you can do. You're not just hearing words, you're actively gathering information, gathering intelligence, and building your influence in the conversation. Okay, so you want a practical tool you can use like today? Here's one straight from Voss's playbook. It's called labeling. It's super simple. Step 1, listen and try to spot the emotion behind their words. Step 2, call it out, calmly, by saying something like, it seems like, or it sounds like. For instance, it seems like you're really frustrated by this. And then, and this is the most important part, you shut up. You go silent and let that label sink in. It's almost magical how it can de-escalate the tension and get them to open up. This whole approach also totally changes the language you use. Think about it. Instead of hitting them with an accusatory you statement like, you're completely ignoring the budget, which just puts them on the defensive, you reframe it. You use an I statement, something like, I'm focused on figuring out how we can get this done most efficiently within our budget. See the difference? You're stating your goal without making it a personal attack. You just turned a fight into a shared problem to solve. And one last tool for your toolkit, what Voss calls calibrated questions. These are absolute gold. They're open-ended questions, usually starting with what or how, that are designed to make the other person solve your problem for you. So instead of shutting things down by saying, that's impossible, you hit them with, how am I supposed to do that? It's brilliant. It forces them to see the problem from your side and come up with a solution. You give them the feeling of being in control, but you're actually steering the entire conversation. So, look at the journey we've been on. We've gone from the battlefields of Sun Tzu to the modern negotiation table. We've shifted from the raw mindset of a warrior to the nuanced approach of an empathetic strategist. It's pretty clear the goal isn't just about winning anymore. It's about achieving something much more lasting, much more powerful. And really, this is what it all comes down to. This is the core idea. The truly unbeatable mindset isn't about having a long list of people you've defeated. It's about finding strength through shared solutions. Because a solution you build together is always going to be stronger and last longer than one you impose on someone else. That right there is the ultimate paradigm shift. You don't become unbeatable by winning every single fight. You become unbeatable by reframing the fight so that nobody has to lose. Once you turn a battle into a collaborative project, the whole idea of winning and losing, it just vanishes. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. The next time you find yourself in a conflict, a disagreement, anything, what's your goal going to be? Are you going in there to seek a simple victory? Or are you there to build strength?